Tom DeLaurie. Excellent. Hope he's there. Be great to talk with him. I think he's in Melbourne. I'm pretty sure. Hey, Tom.
How are we doing?
Oh, how are you? I'm really good. So good to see you.
And you?
And you're still in lockdown down in Melbourne, I take it?
We've relocated, myself and my partner Sandra mentioned, to Ballarat.
Oh, okay. So you're in regional Victoria.
Yeah, so moved from Melbourne to Ballarat just over a year ago. And to be honest, after being here, I wished I'd done it sooner. Just the pace of life and being able to get, you can see, lots of art done.
Great. Because I remember, you've done lots of work. Now, portraiture, you're big on portraiture, aren't you? And you did. Can you tell me a bit about your work?
Yeah, so I mainly like to work with the human figure in conflict. I have done a lot of portraiture as well, so I was very fortunate to get N.T. LaPaglia to sit for me there. So did a lot of pieces on him. One I've put in for the fingers crossed for the meringue coming up.
Sorry, who did you say it was? Who did you paint?
N.T. LaPaglia from Without a Trace.
Oh, okay. Oh, Anthony LaPaglia, right. Does he live in Adelaide? Where does he live? Is he in Melbourne?
So he's between Australia and the States, so he spends a lot of time in Australia, and I happened to catch him when he was last in Melbourne because his partner, I believe she's a Melbourneian.
Okay.
Alex, she's a lovely lady, so anytime I post anything to do with the work I've done on him, she always writes wonderful comments, so...
well, she would have to, wouldn't she?
Well, I don't know.
Is she an actor as well? Is she an actor?
I think she's more into PR and management, that kind of thing. But
he's a fantastic actor. He is brilliant. I love him.
Anthony, if you meet him in person, he's intoxicating. He's got this boyish energy, and I was really nervous because you've seen somebody on a TV and then you finally see them in real life, and we're getting into the lift in the hotel and someone is looking at him, knowing his face, and looking at me thinking that they should know me as well, but they don't. You can see, like, I know him, but who's that guy? So anyway, we go up to the gym and he was doing some drawings, and I said to him, I've done a drawing of you as a study before I met you because I like to get to know the person's face. So I said, do you mind if I give you the drawing in it? And he said, I don't normally take presents. And I said, well, this is it. He goes, oh, I want that. So I was like, okay. And,
what photo did you use? Did you use like from a movie, or what did you use?
Yeah, so he did a movie in Australia there previously called Below, and he shaved his head not too like mine for the part, and he donned a Scottish accent, which was interesting. But he put up an image of while he was filming, and he looked kind of like he'd had a tough day. And there was just something about it was very raw, and I usually get drawn into images that are quite, not polished. So I worked in an image from that. And as I say, I wanted to do my research on his face before actually getting him to sit live. So I was kind of some way familiar, and kind of, in a way, you want to know what to look for as well. If he's got any... how would you say, sometimes it's the imperfections is what makes somebody interesting or beautiful.
Yeah, totally.
But he totally put me at ease because I was so nervous, and he just said, Tom, just breathe. And I was like, okay, I can start with that. Anyway, I gave him the piece. His wife was so excited with the piece as well, so they photographed it and put it up on his Instagram that night. So that was, a good sign.
Wow, yeah.
once.
has he seen? Sorry, go on. Finish.
No. You're
Oh,
absolutely.
have you finished your work for the Moran? Has that been entered?
Yeah. So I've entered that
Right.
because I think the closing date is the 23rd, I think, of this month.
Oh,
So
okay.
I just wanted to. I didn't want to be rushing it. I don't like being put under pressure. I think I put myself under enough pressure without adding, external, dates.
Yeah. Have you got any portraits there we can see, or have you got anything we can see?
I can
Are
actually
you
show you.
in your studio?
Yes. So this is something I started today,
Oh, wow.
and this is
Beautiful.
one I did of a friend of mine. Not meaning to name drop, but this is Jared Harris. He sat for me back in 2015.
Wow, beautiful.
And people best know him from, Chernobyl. So what I'll just show you, and I'll try and avoid the washing. This is the image, last image I did of Anthony.
Oh, wow. Oh, so you did a few, or is that the one that you entered?
That's the one that I've entered, but I've done a few. Because
great.
his face is so interesting. Actually, and then there's another one that I did of, this is an art writer.
Right.
His name is
Fabulous.
David Thomas.
Okay.
And then I'm a big Francis Bacon fan, so this is
wow, yeah.
homage to him.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Are they now? I take it it's oil painting. You've done painting in oils.
No, I mean the weird thing is I started off at university as being obsessed with oils. I had a tutor that said if my wrists were cut, they expected oil paint to come out. And then when I started doing work back in '97 to do with the Holocaust, that was a main thing for a number of years. I found the oils were too polished for it, and I started doing these small pieces, mixed media pieces that were quite raw, and the smaller pieces, or what I called visual ideas, seemed to be stronger than these big, massive oil and canvas paintings I was doing. So for a number of years, I worked quite, let's say, small, with the size of the TV screen, which is how we normally see reality. For most of us now with lockdown and Netflix.
Yeah.
The weird thing is that people would get up close because the size, and then when they realised what the subject matter was, they would be quite uncomfortable because they're used to that size and they're used to seeing imagery at that size, as I say, around the size of the TV. And so for a number of years that was a main theme of mine. I became I'll be honest, quite obsessed with it. And I don't think you should touch, for an artist, I think you shouldn't touch anything unless you're obsessed with it.
Yeah, that's an interesting. Yeah, I think you're right. It sort of gives you the passion to keep going because you've got to have the motivation as well.
Yeah, people would say, oh, well, how can you do work around this sort of, awful theme? But because you're a maker and you're an artist, I think the process of making gives you a little bit of a buffer. So, you're obsessed with mark making, you're obsessed with, other things. And, I think while you're doing that, it gives you a little bit of a distance so that you don't get, because like some days you'd be doing research and you just break down crying reading some of the stuff.
Especially with that Holocaust theme, I can imagine it must have been, harrowing.
Well, yes, and the thing is, then you can't really, how would you say, let that stop you doing the work. You can't just say this is just too hard, or I can't do it, or I'm going to make somebody upset. I've done it for a number of years. I have taken a break, usually working breaks. But, one of my best friends is a Holocaust survivor, Henry Corrin. And he's based in Melbourne. And, we've had lots of ventures together. When I got into the Black Swan, painting himself and his wife at the time, they went to Perth with us, which was lovely. So, it might be a very serious topic, but I ended up developing a really wonderful relationship with Henri because of it. So you never know how these things pan out. You start off doing one thing and then, you know, real life kicks in.
Yeah.
So you were saying about things being cancelled.
That's what I was just going to ask you. Yeah. So
yes.
what
So
was there anything of yours cancelled, or is there something